What's up, everybody? We are back with another video. You're taking a look at the thumbnail, you're taking a look at the description and title. You know it's about to go down. Can sex workers and virgins see eye to eye? I know this one's going to get a little bit touchy for some people, but viewer discretion's advised. And without further ado, let's jump in the video. Oh.
Step forward if you agree. I judge the other side.
Sheesh.
It's hard for me to reconcile, unfortunately, like sex work as like noble or something that it's necessary for society.
Totally understand. But also, one of the oldest professions is sex work. One of the things that almost every human does in the world is sex. So the idea that we actually do this for money isn't too far out of the ordinary, you know? My dad was a pastor. So it's like, understand, I didn't grow up in an idea where like sex work was okay. But I did grow up in an idea where it's like, I want to learn, I want to experiment. And one of the things I wanted to always learn about was what my body does. So like, what made you decide, what put you in a place where you decided, is it a religious? Or
Yeah, so it's definitely a Jesus thing. Like,
Yeah.
Jesus is my Lord and Savior.
Wait,
and
so she's a virgin
I
by
totally
choice?
believe that that part of me is something to
Okay.
be shared intimately with the person I'm choosing to spend my life with.
Can I ask the disagreeers to step forward?
I don't judge you. I just don't understand why you would give people access to your body in that manner, which opens you up to so many more risks with like STDs, pregnancies, all that stuff. I could not do that. That is not me.
Okay, here's a good example for that. So
Okay.
my other job is doing stunts. I light myself on fire. Is there a risk to that?
Yes.
But it is an educated risk because I know exactly what I'm doing and I know how long to burn and I know what's going on. Same thing with sex work. These are all educated risks that we take.
That is our job. Our body is what we use for our job, so we take care of it. We get tested, we take care of our health. You know, we are very, very adamant about that.
But I just cannot get on board with our bodies being a product all the time.
But isn't that how every job is? When I was working in retail, my body was a product. I'm lifting heavy things. I'm working in, weird, nasty work conditions. I'm getting injured. Like every job I've had has required physical labor of my time and body, and I'm required to be there.
Yeah, there's a physical element to every job, but when the primary asset that you are giving in terms of value is your body, then I think that's what she's referring to. It's not true that every job is just strictly physical. For example, in software, it's very intellectual labor, so the mind is the primary thing.
We all sell our body, just depends on what part.
I mean, but sexual selling is very different from what I do, which is like working as a nurse in a hospital.
But you're selling your time, your physical ability, your knowledge, and your emotion, because that job is very draining on your mental health. We're doing the same thing, except we're just showing nudity and pleasure.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm Nathan Bronson. I am 32. I am a sex worker, and almost 100% of that is doing porn. When I was younger, I had girls tell me I was very terrible in bed and I had a small penis. I wanted a challenge. I always liked doing things that not a lot of people can do. I want to be able to prove that I can do it. And so that's why I got it.
This guy has some good...
Sex work can make the world a better place.
He thought it out pretty carefully. Sex work can make the world a better place.
I'm a prostitute, and I've had so many clients. I had one guy whose wife had died.
These questions are also so very generic in general. I think they maybe do it on purpose so that you just interpret it the way you want. There's no defined way, but when you have a general question, then you basically might not have the proper answers.
And he'd
Or the
only
right
been with
arguments.
her his whole life. And she had just died like a year ago, and he was like, I don't know how to date again. He didn't want to get into the emotional part where he was like interwoven with a new person. And so as baby steps, like he came and saw me as an escort. Or there was another guy who was dying of cancer, and he was like, I'm not in a position where I can get laid on my own, and I don't want to die without experiencing intimacy with another person. And I got to be that for him. And just like last year, I looked him up and I found his obituary. Those encounters are what make the job valuable to me, because like, this is not just like a casual physical experience, right? Like you're touching somebody's soul, and I am so thankful to have been allowed the opportunity to help the men that I've helped like that.
Sometimes I get the feeling that we save lives. Someone having a bad day, a man might want to be a little violent, but instead, he goes to the strip club, or he watches a little porn, or he, spends time with a provider, and that brings him down and it levels him out, and he gets that intimacy that he's missing.
I have a suspicion that we save marriages.
Marriages.
Like, I saw so many husbands who were like, my wife hasn't touched me in 6, 10, 15, 20 years. And like, I need sexual outlet. And like the fact that they can get it with an escort, like preserves the marriage. Otherwise they would leave the wife, and the house and the kids and everything would explode. It's like a controlled release.
Well, the problem is that when you're married, especially, it's pretty tough because legally it's challenging, because once you're in the marriage, the contract is set, divorcing is going to cause a lot of issues. There's going to be a split of the assets. There's going to be all kinds of back and forth going on. So, but the thing is that I like the point that she made earlier about how like a lot of men that are in married relationships are going to escorts to get the sexual aspect that they're missing, let's say. And it's pretty interesting, because it's almost like when a woman gets into a marriage, it's almost like a reset button. So it's like she gets into the marriage, and once she's in it, because of the legal binding, and there's so much risk of divorcing and issues with divorcing, she now no longer needs to fulfill the sexual desire that typically a man has in his nature. So the point I'm trying to make is that if you're going to get married, think about that very carefully. Like, you have to be very aware of what might happen once you're in a married position. Like, you might not get the sexual access that you're looking for, because the woman is just like, nah, screw you. You do what I want, or we can divorce right now and you're screwed. So what are you going to do? It almost puts the ball in her frame, in her part.
I got thoughts.
Okay, so I did want to address the idea that
And notice how it's
that
not women
you having
going
sex
to
with husbands save
these
the
escorts
marriage.
or sex workers.
I don't believe that's even possible. How can adultery
Married
save
women.
a marriage?
Like, my perception is that this is like an inadequate Band-Aid to cover a wound that doesn't have another way to heal. And so I'm not saying it's great. I'm saying, yeah, you're correct in your criticism. I would not like to be in a marriage where this was happening without my knowledge. But like, I do suspect that the alternative is the destruction of the marriage.
I'm gonna share something. So I looked at porn when I was in 8th grade, and just kind of hearing, it's crazy. I'm getting like a frustration, because I'm like, oh man, because it really put me down a bad spiral. And I just started thinking about myself. I started thinking about women really inappropriately. It's because like porn puts this idea in our mind and kind of scares us. I think it scares guys away from actually talking to women, actually.
Yeah, I also want to like validate the fact that pornography like can cause.
Oh yeah, that's actually true. Okay, basically what porn does is that it gives the sexual access with no risk involved. So, for example, when you're going for a girl, there's at every level some sort of risk that you're gonna have to take, right? You're gonna have to go ask her out. You're gonna have to, even when you ask her out, then you have to plan. How do I get this date to work properly? I have to take a risk to actually kiss the girl. I have to take a risk on bringing her to hook up or whatever it may be. So there's a lot of like barriers that you're gonna have to, or obstacles you're gonna have to overcome in order to get the sexual aspect. Porn basically offers the alternative, which is here's the sexual element and there's no risk involved. And so the point I'm trying to make is that if you're a guy that's always looking at porn over and over again, and you're never actually taking risk and engaging and doing stuff in your dating life and trying out and testing, then when it comes down, you start to build up all kinds of presuppositions in your mind on what the girl is expecting from a guy and whatever it may be. And the guys that you're looking at in porn are like top shape, right? And so it kind of even builds up more and more fear in you. So when you actually go and try to ask a girl out and do stuff and do all kinds of like risk taking, it just becomes worse.
has these effects on people. Like some people watch porn and they have like a really negative reaction, or like it causes you to feel like this objectification of women that you don't want to experience. And I think it's like really important to like acknowledge that and be like, yeah, maybe some people just shouldn't watch porn. Like maybe it's bad for them.
I was watching an interview the other day with
facts.
Angela White, another porn star, and she said this thing that just fucking blew my mind, where she was like, you know, we don't watch Fast and the Furious to learn how to drive. We don't watch porn to learn how to have sex and intimacy. Porn is entertainment.
That's so hard though, because so many people watch it. If that's the avenue they go towards, that's what they're gonna learn from, and then they're
But
going
again,
down a bad
now
path.
you're still splitting that path of like, because we're having sex on camera, it is entertainment.
What would be your solution to be like, if you do have those unsuspecting?
Also, for a lot of guys, by the way, this is a point that was brought up a few times. But basically, when you're looking at porn, and it was kind of like a parallel to what I said before. When you're looking at porn, you're looking at the guys with the biggest You're looking at the guys that are super jacked. You're looking at guys that know how to pleasure the woman. So it's gonna create this like frame or archetype in your brain. And if you yourself, who is not experienced at all, doesn't meet that kind of like standard, which is actually like the anomaly, then in your mind you're thinking, okay, if I don't fulfill the same level as this norm that with the girl that I'm trying to go for, then she's gonna look at me as less desirable, or maybe like the point I'm making is you're comparing yourself to like an Olympic athlete. Pretty much what it is.
Audiences, like, is there an advisory? Is there something that says?
No, because it doesn't matter what you do, people are going to find it. Now, what I think, better education, better parents, better teaching, because when it really comes down to it, me doing this job and being chastised for doing something that as an adult that I want to do and I want to strive to do better is a completely different thing.
I'm Rudy, I'm a virgin, and I believe sex is a beautiful thing that God made for two people. I view the sex industry as something very taboo and full of people who may or may not have had a different choice or thought of a different option to provide themselves a better life.
God cares
I think you can
about
make a
our
case
sex
for that.
lives.
Could make a case for that for sure.
I believe that God created
Because fundamentally, again, getting back to the point, it's like you're defaulting into an asset that you for sure have, which is your body. It's like a lower level kind of like default.
Like
So
we are
I
all
could
sexual
understand the
beings.
case
I mean,
she's
unless
making.
you're asexual, I guess. But sharing that with one person
Asexual?
for the rest of my life, like that is so appealing to me, because then I feel like I can like give my fullest self to them, and I would hope that they want to do the same with me.
I feel like God is involved. And that's why people thought I was crazy when I said, yeah, I want to be actually praying on my first time. People thought I was crazy. But there's emotion, there's so much more than just action.
God cares
so
about our
good.
sex
This
lives.
would be so good.
Okay, I mean,
I used to be very
depends if you're religious.
I was homeschooled.
Girls same.
Homeschooled. Yeah. My dad's a professional evangelical debater
wow.
who
Wow.
has a radio
Like
show
an
and writes
apologist?
books. Yes,
Oh,
he's a
God.
Christian apologist. Yeah, I was
Are
raised,
these- are these Americans?
no kissing, don't hold hands. I was like, till marriage, like absolutely. But there was a sense of like this sexual act is really elevated. Like a lot of it from my frame is that we're like sort of participating in a social ritual where we all like give this act like a huge amount of power, which is like not my deal, but I really resonate with like the strength that can hold.
So I also grew up Catholic and, grew up in my Catholic shame bubble. I would masturbate and then cry myself to sleep and be like, God hates me and I'm going to hell. I don't know, man. I just kind of opened my eyes to the world and was like, you know what? People are out here raping. They're out here murdering. They're out here doing some crazy ass shit, and this world is fucking awful. I don't think God is down, looking down on the world and seeing all that and going, God damn it, Avery's sucking a dick again, like another check, like she's gone, I'm like, no.
Are you at all worried that by creating porn and all that stuff is feeding into a very real addiction that a lot of men suffer with?
So
Most men
the difference
don't
there
want
is,
to.
100%.
with like the mainstream
100%.
porn that I do, Yeah, it can be hella skeezy. They give you skeezy, storylines and stepmom this and step this, and it gets real skeezy, But then when you take it to the other side of the porn, I can put out the product that I want to. I can help educate people. I can put out ethical porn because I'm making it. My name is Avery. I am 27 years old, and I am a sex worker. It's weird because I grew up super, super religious, and used to give chastity talks at church and chastise my friends for being sexual. But
as much as they want to
I actually find
force
that I'm not
everybody into a
as
certain
bitter
way,
towards my religion anymore since I
reality is,
started
at
this
the end
work
of the day,
because somehow it's kind
tough.
of reconnecting me to it in a way. Just seeing that and hearing from people that I'm putting good out into the
nobody wants
world
to
and I'm
date
making the
somebody
world a
that's
better
hooking up with
place and
1,000
I'm
guys
making
or
people
on
feel
camera
joy and happiness.
24/7.
I've had trouble in romantic relationships.
Ooh, here we go.
My fiance
Sheesh, here we
does
go,
not do
guys.
sex work, does not, she's only slept with, I think, 13 people, right? Which to me, that's,
He's like, that's so little. For me, that's a
I
lot.
mean, before I got into the industry, I was over 100 something, so it's a crazy number to me. It's always a very strange thing trying to keep this relationship going in the sense of like what I do, because even it's just their egos, and she has to see me with younger women all the time, and it sometimes hurts her, but it's like just a lot of communication.
For me, I am currently in a relationship, and the guy I'm dating, he is actually not a Christian. So I had to have that conversation with him beforehand, like that because of my religious beliefs, I'm not going to have sex until marriage. He's not only honored it, but he supported it. But it does make it.
To be honest with you, whenever I hear that kind of line, I take it with a grain of salt, because if the girl comes across a guy that's like super attractive, out of the girl's league, okay, she's going crazy. She's gonna tell that guy no sex till marriage. I call it cap. I call it cap.
Difficult because it's like I want to make him happy. He wants to make me happy, and that struggle of like I guess fighting against our flesh is going to be.
There's a rule we always talk about. It's like girls will make rules for guys they don't find that attractive, and they'll break the rules for guys that are very attractive to them.
A little harder. I don't want anyone to see my naked body until they're my husband.
Oh, he hasn't even seen you naked?
No.
Oh, really? Wow. Sorry, being naked is just I just walk around naked. It doesn't. How long have you guys been dating?
It's been a few months.
You're like 3, 4?
Yeah, around that.
Good for you, girl. Keep that pussy on lock.
A lot of people think that we are anti-sex or not sex positive. I don't think that's true at all. I know that I'm a very sexual person. I cannot wait to explore that sexual side of myself with my husband. But that is something that I want to restrict to just one person, and that's how I want to explore that sexual side of me.
I mean, maybe. I'm not sure. It depends on the people.
I don't have a romantic issue with my virginity because they kind of, they admire kind of what I do or my self-control, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So.
Restraint is hot.
Huh?
Restraint is
hot.
Yes, it is.
No, it's cap. It's cap. Okay, I'll break it down to you for real, what actually is going on. For the man, if the man has multiple girls and the girl that's interested in him, she knows that he has multiple women that are going after him and that he's going after too. That is what we call pre-selection. That means that the guy is already pre-selected by plenty of girls. So to the girl's eye, she's like, damn, if this guy's desirable to so many women, there must be something about him that is attractive and that's like desirable enough. So if the guy is a virgin, but on the flip side, if the guy's a virgin, he never hooked up with any girls, he never had a relationship with any girls, she knows that there's no girls going after him, it is not desirable, it's just a massive cap. On the flip side though, it's different because guys and girls are different. If the guy knows that the girl has been hooking up with a shitload of guys, a shit ton of guys, it becomes less desirable to the guy. It becomes specifically a problem for women when they're going, especially for guys that are either that are like super super attractive, that have a lot of women, a lot of options, or that are a guy that's out of their league. They might be these women might be able to deal with a guy that has no chicks, but when they're dealing with a guy that's of higher value enough in the sexual marketplace, they don't stand a chance. They're just not interested.
Question: have you had women who definitely not
As much as we
virgins,
wanna-
but not even
we hate on
Christian,
that.
come after you because they know you're a virgin? They're trying to steal that card.
Yeah.
No,
And
it's
how
not.
hard do they push?
It's not true.
It's pretty hard.
It's not true. The girls are not interested in virgin guys. It's cap. They might say that to be politically correct and nice, but look at the actions that they actually take. And more importantly, getting back to the difference between man and woman, take a look at the evolutionary and reproductive capabilities of a man and a woman. The man is able to ejaculate shit ton of sperm, that basically means that he's able to keep going and fertilize like a bunch of women. On the flip side, a woman, it's much more difficult to get the egg and the ovulation and the whole menstruation cycle thing. Men are literally designed to hook up with a shit ton of chicks, and women are not evolutionary designed to get a shit ton of guys.
I've never been in a circumstance where I had somebody I wanted
So
to
there
date
is a
who did
cost
not want to date me because
To when
of my
women
job,
hook
ever.
up with a shit ton
Really?
of guys,
Ever.
there is
Because
a cost.
the kind of
even if
filters
they
I
don't
have in
want to
place,
admit
like
it.
by the time we get to the point where I want to date them, like if they've passed all the other criteria that I have, by that point, all of them are just totally fine with sex work. I don't like people who are possessive at all. I'm very polyamorous. In the
Yeah.
normal world, is that people don't date each other because of sex work.
Yeah, that's the problem with these women, is that they're polyamorous. The guys that they're dating too, that are okay with their sex work, are also polyamorous. They're not going to settle down and lock in. You see what I'm saying?
That's just not the reality I live in.
See, that's my reality. I have a hard time with romantic relationships because
And women want guys to lock in, lock down. They want guys to commit. And the fact of the matter is they're not going to commit.
well, I'm a sex worker, and not only am I a sex worker, but outside of work, I self-identify as a whore. Like, I just like to have sex, and I like to.
Sorry, I don't want to cut off, but basically it's this. Once the girl and the guy go through having sex, what's the next phase after that? The guy's going to sit there and he's going to be like, what exactly does this girl offer to me besides the sex? Not much. Okay, so then I'm not really that interested to lock down and actually settle down with the girl, let alone get married. See what I'm saying?
To experience as many people as possible. And when I do find someone that I'm interested in for romantic relationships, that's the package deal. You know, I tell them, like, look, I want to be with you and I want to be in a relationship with you and I care about you a lot. But I also need to be a slut and have sex with people who aren't you sometimes. I've tried dating like other porn performers. And, you know, even that gets murky because even with our jobs, jealousy is still a thing. So, you know, I'll be dating a porn star who knows that I'm a porn star, and then they hit me with the, hey, babe, I think, like, maybe you should just start doing, like, content with girls. Yeah, just do girl, and, like, maybe threesomes with me and other girls, and, like, that's it, and change your branding. And I'm like, so you started this romantic relationship with me knowing exactly what the f*** is down, like, who I am, what I do, what I'm about, and you thought that, oh, let me just like wait a few months and then I can like change. You're like, okay, great.
Yeah, there's a lot. That's the point I was making. There's a lot less respect.
I enjoy
Sucks, but
masturbation.
that's what it is. That's what it is, folks.
Hey, girl.
Do you feel guilty?
I think in the beginning, because I didn't know what I was doing and like what I felt about it, the problem is like the Bible doesn't say anything about masturbation. So you're always like, this is the world of gray. And then,
But religion says something about masturbation. So, like, does your religion say anything about masturbation? Is nothing?
it's more about like generalized sexual immorality. So I didn't feel like masturbation was immoral of me. Like I felt like, oh, this is just me getting to know my body and what I like, and then hopefully pass it along to a great guy.
Yeah, I remember when I was Christian and I was trying to figure out if I should masturbate. I would like consult the Bible quite a lot. I would like Google, you know, like, is it okay to masturbate for women? And there was no resources for women at all. It was like men have to control their lusts. And I felt like a crazy.
But it's sad because these people, it's like since they follow the religion tells them, the Bible tells them, the Quran tells them, but they don't know why, and that's the issue.
The pervert, because I'm like, oh, I have all of these urges that women apparently don't have. I ended up deciding that, okay,
They don't say
lust is a
why.
sin, but the
That's the key.
masturbation itself isn't. So that if I engaged in the physical act without like having any sort of mental process going on, then that would be okay by God.
I'm surprised that you.
Oh, I got answers. I got answers. One of the things is because I have to save my load to use at work, which is a little graphic, but that's really what it is. So one of the things I have to do, because I'm doing 2 scenes a day, so I can't jerk off. I can barely have sex with my fiance most of the time because I'm doing the job. I'd much rather take that time, go give pleasure to someone else, and actually see that look on someone's face that I gave them an experience.
I would totally disagree with the idea that masturbation isn't sin. I feel like there's something that happens. I don't know, like it's just so hard to explain
I'm
because
curious.
it's so.
I want to ask, like, what is it like to you about touching your own body, that and you know, making yourself feel that type of pleasure? What makes that a sin?
But it's like with me, I just see that God is so high and mighty that. Like the reason why maybe I keep on messing up, because there's moments of I'm sexting, I'm doing things, and you're like, what? How would you do that? But the thing is, it's like, yeah, I mean, and the thing is understanding that like I'm not God, but also understanding that like I want to be more Christ-like. Yeah, progress in my faith.
Do you masturbate?
Yes, I have, yes.
Do you do it regularly?
There's moments where it's probably once a month.
Oh.
What do you guys do when you feel those impure thoughts and you think about it and you want to masturbate because that's your direct correlation to what you're doing?
I call a friend and kind of like, because the thing is,
You got a
like,
friend like that? That's
Do you
awesome.
tell your friends why you're
I don't
calling
think
them?
it's a thought.
Or do you just call for distraction?
I call, well, it's calling, kind of be like, hey, this is happening right now. I need some prayer because this could get bad. This could be bad because it's like and it's really unhealthy. It's very unhealthy of me.
And if you're in a good church community, you have prayer warriors, and that helps immensely, no matter what you may be struggling with.
Being a virgin has shaped me in a way of separating myself from the rest of the pack. So I stopped watching porn based off of a flick that I watched. That just made me just stop completely. I like intimacy, and I've realized that porn doesn't give me the intimacy that I'm searching for.
The sex industry is sexist.
The sex divide is way different in our industry. Women get paid a lot more.
It's actually, the sex industry is I think it's one of like 2 industries
Makes
in the
sense.
world where women make more than men.
Yeah.
Everyone's objectified, kind of, because the men y'all are reduced to your penises.
Oh, yeah,
No one
meat
even
bag.
really knows who the men are, but I know so many people who recognize penises. We have to cater to these fantasies for fans, and there are sadly it's a broad reflection of how the world is. And out in the broad world, there's a lot of men who want to see women get beat and had sex with brutally and just brutally taken, and that's what they
That's
want.
where I'm thinking the sex industry is sexist, because women in general and the different aspects of the sex industry, I feel like are viewed as less than.
They are. And for me, the one turnaround of it though is where we take our power back. We enjoy, filling out those fantasies and those role plays to take power over it. The other night I was having sex with a man, and he's like having sex with me, and he puts his foot on my face and is like stepping on me while he's having sex with me. And you see your face. My face, I was in heaven. I was there trying to lick his feet, and I was just like, this is hot to me because I get to explore this in a safe manner that is controlled by me.
Of course porn is designed for men. It's not because we don't like women. It's because men are visually stimulated and way more likely to spend money on porn. This doesn't feel like an issue to me. This feels just like the natural way that we are.
So
I
is it
remember when
you're
I
more
had my
sexualized?
very first escort session where I had sex with my
Sexual
first
desire.
man for money. Going into it, I was super nervous because I'm I had this background feeling that I was gonna feel gross or violated or exploited in some way, a little bit of a fear. And then I remember I went through the session and I left, and I was walking down the street with a couple $1,000s in my pocket because I charged very high rates. And I was like, who exploited who here? Like, I feel incredible. And I remember feeling,
Respect.
I remember feeling like angry at society. I was like, why did they tell me this would feel bad? I feel so good. And it's like, at that point, it's like, I don't know, when we talk about like sexism in the industry, you could very easily argue it goes the opposite way. I grew up in a very
Yeah, but it's true. But you're doing OnlyFans or porn or whatever it may be. It might sound good and everything while you're young, but what happens when you're 30, 35, 40, 45, 50 years old, 60 years old, 80 years old? You better not blow that cash too quick, because your lifespan is pretty short.
conservative culture that expected me to become a housewife. But it turned out to be that I was a sex worker instead. I got
Dude, the culture is literally dominated by the left. I don't know what you're referring to,
to
conservative.
like escape that sort of life
conservative,
where I was working
local area.
minimum wage
You got
jobs with not a lot of prospects. My family is not supportive of my professional choices. I'm definitely performing an immoral action in their eyes. I am degrading myself and my sexuality in their eyes. I associate it very strongly with freedom, like being able to have access to a lot of different choices to make a lot of money that I never would have had the opportunity to have before.
All sex work should be
'Cause of the simp
legalized in
market.
America.
It's true. You guys need to hold
From
back.
all the
man.
statistics I know of, like, let's say Australia, and this is from just the knowledge I've learned from that, apparently sex work has actually decriminalized a lot of places. So if you legalize all sex work, you kind of take away that human want in making it so it's just available if you want it. And also, if you make it available just like prostitution, making that available, you have to make people go through screening. You have to make people get tested. So everyone's going to, STDs might even go down.
There's a difference between decriminalizing sex work and legalizing it. Legalizing it means obviously the government is going to be into it. They're going to be able to set up health regulations, which can definitely help sex workers. Decriminalizing it just means that you as a sex worker cannot be arrested for what you do. I personally don't believe that legalizing it is beneficial, because even in those countries where it is legalized, it correlates to higher rates of sex trafficking. I know I'm not supposed. Yes. And I would have thought that it wouldn't have been that way, because otherwise I would have agreed with you. I would have said yes, it should be legalized, because then we can have all these regulations in place to make it safer for sex workers.
But see, if you had a governmental body going through, just like
Yes.
if you went to a restaurant, there's an A on the door saying like food handlers, right? Then it would be, this is a building that is regulated. We have people coming through to make sure everyone coming through gets tested this many times. And you coming in, you have to be tested the day before to actually get checked in.
I guess that
Well, usually the way it works is that if you criminalize something or illegalize, make it illegal, you basically give birth to a black market. So what's going to happen in the black market, no one knows. But if you make it legalized, almost like a company, contract-based, everything is the free market kind of like goes against each other, and whoever provides the best product at the safest way with the best service, etc., then you could have much less of the shadiness.
assumption is based on if everyone who is in sex work would go the legal route, because not everyone would. When there's government involvement, what does that mean? Taxes. Not everyone wants to have taxes. That's why in New Zealand it's decriminalized, but there are no regulations to keep anyone in that whole situation safe.
I was just on the disagree
I don't think the government should be involved necessarily. I think they should just get out of the way as far as econ. But
side because I don't think
Doesn't
it should
okay.
be legalized. I think it should be decriminalized.
get out of the way.
I don't want the government anywhere near sex work. I don't want the government controlling it, taxing it, making it to where they legalize it, but they're still going to put loopholes around that puts us in even more danger. I also think sex work should be decriminalized, because as long as it's criminalized, we're at the mercy of the cops, and the cops are the biggest threat to female sex workers specifically. Almost every female sex worker I know who's had an encounter with the cops has been raped by the cops.
Sex
the hell?
is the ultimate
But
form.
the risk is not the police necessarily. The risk is also you're now engaging in basically like who knows what. If they're breaking the law, they're gonna break the law across the spectrum, not just one area.
of intimacy.
You don't even know who you're dealing with.
Whenever I do have sex that first time, I just don't want anyone else other than my husband to ever see me in that vulnerable state. It's too precious to me, and how can you get more, at least physically intimate than that? You can get more emotionally intimate, I'm sure, but
Yeah, that intimacy with someone else. And it's crazy because we're waiting for that, you know? We're waiting for that and wondering what that's going to be like.
There's a rule by Rollo Tomasi that says the sex is never worth the wait.
As a nurse, I've seen, 94-year-olds in the
Never.
hospital, and just like the intimate relationship that they've had with their spouse still carries forward. Like,
Also, one thing too is like very briefly, like these people don't know what not being a virgin is. Well, according to what they're saying, they say they're virgins. I'm just assuming that it's true, but is it really true? Who knows? But they don't know what sex is like, or different styles of like hooking up, whatever it may be. So then they get married, and what if they end up in a marriage with a guy or a girl that's just like horrific and has no idea what they're doing?
people who are quadriplegic.
You too, you have no idea what you're doing.
People who no longer can speak, who are more nonverbal, just seeing the dedication day after day, like their visitors, their family members coming in. It's just really nice to see that you can have a circle of different types of intimacy with companionship and the trusting relationship and the physical part of it.
Intimacy is moments in time, moments between people. I've had intimate moments, like I had an intimate moment with you today. Now, was it the most intimate thing I've ever done? No. So I think those moments where you're there with someone willing to die for that person is way more intimate than anything we can find sexually, because sex is something that's going to happen when you guys start having sex and start being in there with your partner. It's like you want that to last forever. You want that moment, but it's not the thing you would die for. God, you would die for God. That's an intimate thing. That sexual moment is not. You would die for her for other reasons, not for sex.
That was good. Dad.
Bye.
Okay, not bad, not bad. Anyways, let me know what you guys think. It's a pretty interesting discussion, honestly. People that are in the industry, they presented their arguments relatively well, the virgins as well. But it seems like the virgins, they bring in the tradcons, and the tradcons don't really verbalize what exactly the reasoning behind any of their arguments. They just say, the Bible told me, end of story. And I'm like, okay, but don't you want to learn deeper? Like epistemologically, all the knowledge. Anyways, let me know what you guys think. But without anything else to add, drop your comments in the comment section below. I'll see you guys in the next show. Peace.